Hello and welcome to Around the Clock. I'm your host, Yolanda Greaves. On today's show, we're going to be speaking with a few people. We're going to start with Debbie Maruka Hoke, who is the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity. She's going to be speaking with us about what they are doing, how they are handling the COVID-19 issues, and also ways that you can continue to support them. We're also going to be speaking with Diane Mortensen, the chair of our Board of Health, and Ed Berman, who is the lead of our COVID-19 task force, talking about how Ashland is going to be preparing for the opening of some parks and spaces as of May 25th. And then we will also be speaking with Keven Causey. He is the Vice President of Business Development for Tek. Tek is the business that had Governor Baker come visit them last week, and we're going to talk to them about what the work they are doing in support of COVID-19. So stay with us as I bring you Around the Clock. Hello and welcome to Around the Clock. I'm your host, Yolanda Greaves. Today we are speaking with Deborah Maruka. Deborah, welcome to Around the Clock.
Thank you.
Deborah, you are with Habitat for Humanity. You are the Executive Director. Tell us what that is. What is the Executive Director for Habitat for Humanity?
So I am specifically the Executive Director for Habitat for Humanity Metro West Greater Worcester. So our service area covers most of Worcester County and a good portion of Middlesex County. And as the executive director, it's my responsibility to oversee all of our home builds, our home repairs, the mortgages that we hold for our families. We have 2 Restore retail operations, and then we hold numerous fundraising events through the course of the year to help fund our operations and keep us going, keep us building.
And for those who may not know, what exactly is Habitat for Humanity?
Habitat for Humanity is a nonprofit organization who works in partnership with families and communities to eliminate poverty housing. So when we have a home build project, we have an application process that families can apply for that home. There are certain requirements. The families must make between 30 and 80% of area median income. And they must work on their own home or somebody else's home and put in 500 hours of work during the construction of the home. And then they get a 30-year mortgage. It's a low to no interest mortgage that they hold for 30 years and pay back their home and contribute to the community, become part of the fabric of that society. And then we move forward and do another home.
Nice. Now you mentioned the restores. We, of course, here in Ashland have one of your restores. Tell us what a restore is, again, for those who may not know what it is.
So it's a retail warehouse. We accept new and gently used building materials, building supplies, appliances, and home furnishings. We're open to the public. And it's a sustainable fundraising operation for the mission for our home builds. So every dollar that comes in through the restores is a part of our mission to be able to do more home builds and more home repairs.
Now, part of your restore, and I know this because I've done Leadership Metro West, you have a paint line.
So it's
that people can actually go in and get paint, but it's done in a different way.
Yes. So the paint line actually does not belong to Habitat. We are just a very strong supporter. There's another local nonprofit that is in Massachusetts, and they recycle paint. So Recolor Paint is the paint line that we carry. And so the paints that we sell in the store are recycled from other partially used containers of paint. The operation that they have filters and blends these colors. They blend it all by eye, and they do an amazing job. There's a really nice palette of colors, and there is wall paint, there's primer, chalk paint, which is super popular for people who are refinishing furniture, and then we've got a couple exterior colors as well.
Nice. So one of the things we're talking to everybody about this time is how is COVID-19 affecting Habitat for Humanity and the projects and the good work that you do?
COVID-19, as I'm sure you're aware, has turned everything completely on its head. For Habitat, it has been a really dramatic impact. So In mid-March, we had to shut down our build sites and and stop our builds. We work very closely with technical high schools on our builds. So we currently have a build on Concord Street in Holliston, and we were working with Keefe Tech, and the students from Keefe Tech were working on the plumbing and the electric for that home, and it gives them real world experience doing plumbing and electric in a home. And this one's a rehab, so that's a different type of experience than new construction. But all the students were, the school's closed, and we weren't able to have the students there anymore. And it also became dangerous to have our volunteers out. So we had to shut down the build operation. We shut down both restores. But the spring and summer months are when we have some really big fundraising events. So we typically have Women Build, which is a fantastic event. If you've never been to a Women Build event.
I actually participated probably 3 or 4 years ago in the Women Build that was happening in Holliston. We had gotten a group together here in Ashland. Beth Reynolds, our economic development director, and a number of other women here from the town got together and spent the afternoon. It was a wonderful experience.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite events that we have every year. It's really empowering women. The housing crisis really disproportionately impacts single moms. So women out to build and help other women get their lives on track it's a very powerful experience. We welcome men. We're happy to have men. But if we don't call it Women Build, the women shy away from it. So it's really a way to invite women to get involved in swinging the hammer end of the process. And I have to tell you, if you want to see a woman get happy, give her a jackhammer. Right? I mean, it's just fun. But so we had to postpone all of our Women Builds. So we still have teams who are fundraising and and working hard for it. But that day of being able to swing the hammer, that has to be postponed for now. We also have Operation Playhouse, which is a really exciting event that we enjoy doing. We've done it at MetroFest in Framingham for the past several years. And that's an event where corporate teams sponsor Playhouse builds. They send out a group and build a playhouse from a kit. In the course of one day, they paint it and decorate it and customize it for the child who will receive it. And then at the end of the day, the playhouse is donated to the child of a veteran or active military family. And it's a really heartwarming, really fun experience. It's a great fundraiser. It's a great team builder. And it's a great way to give back. But those events this year as well have been canceled. So it's really impacted us, for all of our spring events. But then, more poignantly, our families. Several of our families are being very hard hit by the lack of work. So we have offered forbearance for our mortgages and are working with the families who have reached out to us and trying to help sustain those folks as well. But all of these things coming at the same time are creating kind of a perfect storm. So challenging time.
So what are you how are you supplementing, or what are you doing, or how can people support you if they can't get out and do the Women's Build or the Playhouse Build or get to the Restore to purchase something? How could people be helping Habitat for Humanity right now?
So there are a couple of things. We've had some online campaigns and done some online fundraisers. We have our website, which is always available if anybody wants to make a donation. And we understand that people are not everyone is in a position right now to be able to make a donation. There's a lot of concern, but $5, $10, any amount that people do feel comfortable donating is really helpful to us. So we had a large Giving Tuesday campaign for that, the Giving Tuesday Now day, which was on May 5th. And then we're looking creatively at different things. So some of the Women Build teams are looking at the opportunity to do stud signing, virtual stud signing. You get to submit your signature, for a donation to go on a stud that will be included in a home. And that's, sort of a neat new way to do it.
Yeah.
So, and we are hoping to get the restores back open soon. So the Worcester Restore will be open to the public starting next Tuesday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and the Ashland Restore will follow shortly behind.
Well, great. Well, Debbie, thank you so much for coming on Around the Clock and sharing with us. I know Habitat for Humanity, we don't have it so much in Ashland yet, no homes, but I know you're very busy in Holliston, our neighboring community, and hopefully at some point we can get you here in Ashland with a home. And certainly we support the Restore. It's a great place to bring donations and find little things for the house and stuff to work on the house. So
Thank you
that's
so
great.
much.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. Thank you so much for coming here on Around the Clock. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
And we'll be back with more Around the Clock. Hello and welcome to Around the Clock. I'm your host, Yolanda Greaves. Today we are speaking with Keven Causey. He is the Vice President of Business Development for Tek. Tek is a company we have been bringing to you since about 2 or 3 weeks ago here in Ashland, and they have started to make hand sanitizer. Keven, welcome to Around the Clock.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Now, Keven, Tek has been around for a while, but you as a business and as a company have become very popular lately. Can you tell us a little bit how that has changed and what your business was and why you're now so popular?
Well, in the scientific world, we were always very popular,
Okay.
especially given that our 3D tissue models, especially for the lung, have been used for virology groups all over the country to test antivirals against the virus. You're able to infect our tissues with the virus, and so you can go in and use different antivirals to see if you can stop the virus. Whenever the initial wave of the virus came through, we were already working with a variety of companies and universities out there that were doing testing. From there, we had the ability to make certain things. Hand sanitizer for one, we went through the process of starting to manufacture that, and have been doing that for the last 6 weeks or so, and giving it to hospitals, giving it to police stations, things like that, any sort of public safety. We've tried to be able to donate as much as possible, and then we've also offered it on our online store at www.mattek.com. And so through that, we also were engaged by the folks within the Commonwealth about potentially making other things. They're looking for folks to make ventilators. They're looking for people to make other sort of PPE equipment. And the one thing that we could make was the viral transport media test kits. Viral transport media is basically the liquid that you would put a swab that someone takes for a test and then send it to a testing facility. And at Tek, we make media every day for our tissue models. And so making viral transport media is not all that dissimilar from what we typically do every day. Really, for us, the big difference is aliquoting it into much smaller tubes than we would typically do. So.
Okay, so you applied for a grant to allow you to do this. Tell us what happened once you applied for the grant.
So we had worked with folks within the Massachusetts emergency response team. You kind of send in an initial web inquiry about what you can potentially do. And within a couple of days, the folks there had reached out to us and said, how much can you make and when? And, we went through the grant process, which is the contractual issues with MassBio. And so we started the production this past Monday. And so we should have, by the end of the day, the first 10,000 kits available for, hospital systems or whoever else can use them. And so our goal is to try to, the governor keeps talking us up to try to get, maybe 50,000 kits a week. What we're trying to do right now is to work with the folks within the Commonwealth to make sure that there's a distribution channel, because we are a small business. And, for us, making hundreds of thousands of these is doable, but we also have to, make sure that we're not, just spending money recklessly that we won't, be able to get back. And, we're not trying to make lots of money off this. This is something where we feel like we're trying to just do our part and help out. But our business is not, has not dropped off a tremendous amount, for our 3D tissue models. Some of those have actually increased. Our studies business has increased. And so we really haven't seen a drastic drop. I mean, like every other small business, we've seen hits from the university customers that we're working with.
Right.
But we are, essentially the same business we were before. So this is just really an add-on to what because we can do it. And, we feel obligated to, when you can do stuff like this, you should.
And because of your grant process, you then had a visit by the governor last week. We were able to share that with our viewers.
Yeah,
and the senator of Ashland, and so that must have been exciting for the company.
It was a great experience working with Governor Baker's office. As I was telling you earlier, we had signed the grant documents with MassBio on Friday afternoon. And at 11:30 on Monday morning, I got an email from the governor's office asking if they could come for a visit tomorrow. And so we scrambled, and I think I freaked out our director of marketing and our CEO and our director of operations with calls and text messages. And we worked with them very well. From the time that they had emailed us, Governor Baker was on site. 26 hours later, we had done press releases with them, and had worked with them. And we during the press conference, the governor was very, very kind to us, and it was very appreciated for the work that our scientists are doing on a day-to-day basis. And the spotlight was great. It crashed our website for about 10 minutes. Our LinkedIn activity was up 2,200% in one day.
Wow.
And we had over 300 orders for hand sanitizer, and about, I would say, a dozen different hospital systems or procurement folks within hospitals looking for us to work with them to start producing the viral transport media kits. It's something
great.
where it's not our business, and we don't think it will ever be a part of our business, but there's so many people that need it right now, and their supply chain is scarce at best. And so what we're just trying to do is be another option for those folks. Is just, hey, we'll make it, and you guys can have it when you need it.
Well, and I would think viral transport media is a very specific thing. So you have to have the right equipment, the right materials, the right clean areas to create it, to make sure it's going to be usable.
Yeah, and we're a GMP facility, and so that's good manufacturing principles. And so for us, we make this stuff under GMP every day. And so adding a different product to it is not really a big deal. It's working with vendors that are our suppliers for tubes and swabs.
Mm-hmm.
We work with a couple of backup vendors for swabs. There's one that's in Ohio and Massachusetts specifically called Form Labs that also got a grant through Massachusetts that we've been working with hand in hand, so that when things get if there is a supply issue with swabs, we've got a backup. And so that's what we're looking for right now is backups to backups. And I think that's what we are. We're a backup. And
Right.
So, this will never be our business going forward, but in the meantime, and, until there is a vaccine and there are antivirals that work for this virus, we're going to have to do this, and we're happy to do it.
Well, great. Kevin, thank you so much for talking to us about this. Thank you for supporting all that's going on to work to find a cure, to find a vaccine, not a cure, but to work toward a vaccine, but also to increase the ability to do testing. I know the governor has a very aggressive plan. Right now, we're at about, I think, 30,000 tests a day. He's looking to push that by November and December to 75,000 tests a day. And I was doing some math, and even if we can do 75,000 a day, that still means over 150 days before we can make sure everyone who's here in Massachusetts is getting tested. And, that's just one state. So thank you again for coming on, Kevin. Thank you for Matt Tech for what they do. And I'm sure we'll be following this story as it goes forward.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the time today.
Take care. Hello and welcome to Around the Clock. We are speaking with Sergeant Ed Berman, the lead of our COVID-19 task force here in Ashland, as well as Diane Mortensen, the chair of the Board of Health. Diane and Ed, welcome back to Around the Clock.
Thank you for having us.
Ed, we're going to start with you this morning. Getting ready to reopen, what has the COVID-19 task force been working on to allow that to happen?
Yes, so we've been working with our Community and Economic Development Director, Beth Reynolds. One of the things, and I have to give a kudos to Laura Clifford, Secretary of the Department too. When we got the guidelines on Monday, the first thing that we started doing was reaching out to all of our houses of worship, making sure they had all the proper documentation that they needed, and offering them guidance on filling out their safety plans and whatever they might need so that they can hold services this week. Beth Reynolds has been reaching out to all of the businesses in town that will be able to open on Monday. For example, our barbershops and hair salons, making sure they have all the proper documentation and guidance that they need.
Okay, and Diane, Board of Health, what have you been working on to help with this reopening plan?
Well, we had our Board of Health meeting on Tuesday night, and Ed was there giving updates. Tuesday night, we met with, the farmers market, and we met with the community garden on their reopening plan to keep everybody safe, of course. They did a fabulous job. Again, kudos to them. They did a very thorough plan, submitted to the board, and we gave them our blessing for opening once they're allowed to. So that was helpful for them, because I think a lot of people are looking forward to both of those events and being outside.
So through the governor's guidelines, certain things have already opened. We're looking to open our outdoor spaces as of May 25th. Ed, how are we going to enforce the guidelines and make sure people know of what those guidelines are as they go and enjoy our open spaces?
So initially, obviously, we're not out, and that's under the guidance of Joe Richardson, our facilities director. He was appointed by our town manager to oversee the opening of public fields and our town buildings. Obviously, there'll be no leased space, for example, like a sports team cannot come out and use our fields, but it'll be open for recreation, for a family, want to play Frisbee or what have you. The enforcement part comes either through the Board of Health initially, but our officers already have been pretty proactive, just reminding people, hey, you can't do that. And, more education. We're approaching it as a more educational piece more than an enforcement.
And some of these, we have some big events coming up beginning of June, graduation. How are we working in regards to the COVID-19 task force to make sure those things are going to be done in a safe and basically a safe way?
Well, one of the things I think that most people know that live in Ashland, that we have a great cooperation amongst departments. I mean, first of all, the schools have been in constant contact with myself and other people from the Board of Health. So we're working directly with the principal to help her with some graduation plans. We've already been working with all the schools because this week, they had student pickup of items, different things like that to make sure everybody's safe. Again, we're just working out all the particulars about graduation. We'll probably have a finalized thing on Monday. More to come on that.
So Diane, with that note, there was discussion at a select board meeting. So Board of Health gets to determine how much enforcement they would like our police department to do. Is that something you think your Board of Health will be discussing, so that as people move into open spaces, we are making sure there's enforcement as to following the rules?
Well, like Ed said, and I would like to reiterate, it's more about education and not fining people. We're all working very hard now to, like you said, including Beth Reynolds, to educate the businesses who are going to looking at opening next week. And then so it's going to be a gradual effect. The enforcement falls under the Board of Health, but we do need eyes out there, and some people just need a friendly reminder. So it's more about just going up and reminding people about what the rules are, and hopefully we can get that information out to people beforehand.
And of course, I'm sure the biggest thing we're going to remind everybody is to put your masks on.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, well, Ed and Diane, thank you so much for bringing us this update as we look to reopen. I know our open spaces are going open as of May 25th, and we're looking at opening some of our public buildings as of June 1st. So I'm sure we'll be back with both of you again as we get closer to our building opening date. thanks again. And any last thoughts, Ed or Diane?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, Diane? Okay.
No, I just want to say thank you for everybody because it has been a group effort from multiple departments. You know, Ed has stepped up to help out as well, and it's been an interesting ride. Thank you for having us.
That's a good way to put it. Interesting
It's
ride.
definitely a good way to put it. An interesting ride, and it's still going to be a long ride. I think we're not to the end of this yet. But thanks both of
Exactly.
you for your work, and thanks for being on Around the Clock.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching this segment. We'll be back with more Around the Clock. If you were in Ashland last Friday, you might have seen many people, police officers, fire officers, K-9 officers, lining the streets of Ashland. They were there all to pay a tribute to Dax, Ashland's K-9 officer, who was put to rest on Friday. Thank you for your service, Dax. You will be missed.
Preset forward!
Ashland Control to all units, please stand by for a final radio call for K-9 Dax. Ashland Control to K-9 Dax. Ashland Control to K-9 Dax. Ashland Control to K-9 Dax. The Ashland Police Department regrets to announce the passing of our beloved retired K-9 Dax on this 15th day of May 2020. K-9 Dax faithfully served the Ashland community from 2009 until his retirement in February 2020. We are forever indebted to him for his service and for keeping our community safe. Rest in peace, K-9 Dax, our friend and our brother. We love you, and we will miss you, boy. K-9 Dax, you are 10-7. Ashland Control, standing by at 15:03 hours.